And we're live. Hi, everybody. Today I am here with Lisa Collum, founder of Top Score Writing, owner of Coastal Middle and High School, and mother of 4. I'm going to say their ages. I think that they're from something recent, 14, 12, 9, and 4. Is that?
Yes.
And you represent every school, right?
Yes. I've got every age group. I know I had to work with all of them.
That's great. Well, thank you for being here with us. And I'm going to actually put it in the comments that if anybody has comments, questions, please ask questions here. So as you join us, if you have any questions for Lisa, just put them in the comments. And the topic we want to talk about right now is how much struggle there is with school, the hybrid, the in, the out, the uncertainty. And for a lot of people right now, it's at home. So that distance learning has just so many layers of frustration. For the kids, it's really hard, but the parents are really bearing the brunt of this. So when we asked parents what isn't working for them, the number one question was helping their kids have focus. That seems to be, and I can say from my own perspective as a human being, that's the hardest thing for me as well, even in my business. So I don't think it's limited to school, but it's really hard for kids to be learning this way. So what are your suggestions?
It is, and I always remind everyone that this is not normal. This is not even your normal homeschooling situation. This is parents are working from home and kids are having to learn pretty much on their own. It's teacher-led, but they are on their own. So it's important that parents think about different ways to make it where they're not just sitting all day. Staying focused is hard. And so just a couple little strategies. A schedule is by far the number one suggestion I always have. And what I mean by that is actually like laying out your kid's schedule, but building in break time, go grab a snack time, go outside and get a fresh breath of air. There's gotta be those times that we have built in. Otherwise, kids are going to sit there and get bored out of their mind. Making sure that they're moving around. This is another top suggestion. Don't let them sit in one spot all day. Encourage them. Maybe do reading in the dining room and math in the living room and, science outside on the porch. Little things like that, the moving around, the little breaks for snacks and outside will make all the difference in the world, because you lose focus by sitting because you get bored. So even our 17, 18-year-olds, we need to get them moving around, having breaks, things like that.
Oh my God, you can have a bell in your house. Okay, so those two are great suggestions. Anything else in terms of like the kids required to be in front of the computer, but you are noticing as a parent that they're not getting anything out of it? Do you call it quits? What do you tell them?
No, I think we really have to, and it's just going to take extra time. And listen, I have 2 of mine working from home, and it's taken a little extra time of me having to sit down and figure out what it is. If they're not getting it, which a lot of times that's the problem, then you've got to either sit with them or have set up a conference with the teachers. Trust me, I promise you the teachers are working harder than they ever have before, and they want to help the kids. It's just the kids won't reach out on their own. So when you have those conversations and your kid says, I just don't get it, then reach out to the teacher and say, can we set up some one-on-one time or some small group time, and really take advantage of that, because they're willing to do it. It's just kids don't, normally reach out on their own about that. But making sure that we're just asking them questions and checking on it. There's so many portals and things. We have access as parents to see everything. We should know what classes they're in, what they're working on. Pretty much every school has some sort of online portal. So it's not that you have to do it every day, but just spend maybe an hour one time with your kid and sit down, go through it, ask questions, and just let them know that you're on top of it. Because the minute they think you don't really know what's going on, then they start slacking. But if they know you're checking that portal and you're communicating with the teacher, then they'll be more on top of it.
So, we're talking to parents of teens, which includes middle school and high school. As the kids get older, and I don't know what age this happens or if it's kid dependent, do you encourage them to reach out to the teacher? Like as a parent, you see that they need some input. Would you say kid that right now is so crazy, you call the parent, or is that an opportunity for skill building?
So I 100% think it's an opportunity for skill building. I think we should encourage the students to do it on their own. However, this is just an odd time. And even our best students who usually, have all the life skills and can do everything, struggle with this or may not even realize it. But when you sit down, I've talked to students, I say, what is it? Because I have an online program at my school, and I said, what is it? And they say, I just don't get math. I just can't do it online. And it took me to then reach out to that teacher and have that one-on-one that made all the difference in the world. So yes and no, of course, encourage them, but also be that kind of background checker, making sure.
Yeah, we have no precedent for this, so I guess whatever it takes to get through it, right?
Exactly, and it's constantly changing, and it's just important that I think, like with anything, think about even working from home as an adult. If you don't know someone's on top of you watching, you could end up slacking a little bit, So it's like, with anyone, just knowing somebody, when the teacher and parents work together and the students know, it makes all the difference in the world.
That's great. Okay, the number 2 thing that came up after lack of focus was social isolation. And we just hear it over and over and over again. Number 1, how the kids are feeling about that and struggling, and then layer that with the parents who are also feeling devastated watching their kids feel that way. And are there things to do? I mean, one of the questions that comes up a lot is, my kid doesn't seem to have any friends. Can you make new friends during COVID?
Right. So, and this is a huge one, especially for the mental health, especially teenagers. They have a lot going on, and then you throw on they can't socialize with friends. So, there's kind of 2 things here. So for families that are comfortable with it, and I've done a lot of talks about this, creating or keeping some sort of group that follow the same systems that you're following, whether if you're not traveling and you're not going out to eat and you're wearing masks all the time, finding a small group of friends that are following that and allowing your kids to socialize with them outside. I have 4 kids. We have a couple friends that are allowed to come over. We stay outside the whole time, things like that. But we kind of have to, almost as parents, even for our teenagers, it's kind of weird, but set that up, because you don't know if the other family is going to be okay with that. So it's important that we're kind of involving ourselves in that as well. If you have family that's maybe immune compromised and you're not doing any type of socialization, then that's where Zoom comes in, or some sort of online. I know it may sound crazy, but we've done a lot through Zoom or other platforms, even as business owners. So just imagine, these kids can do a lot. And during the very beginning of quarantine, I can't tell you how many times I set up, and my teenager was so mad at first, but I set up times for their parents to have their kids come on Zoom. And before you know it, the first 5 minutes, they stared at each other. And then they started talking. Before you knew it, it became this full on, just like they were in a group sitting around on the patio. But it took me to kind of reach out to those 4 parents and say, I don't know about you, but my kid's playing video games after school all day. Like, can we do some sort of Zoom group? And they were all for it, and it just worked. So, I encourage socialization if you can do it safely with people that follow those same values or whatever systems, but also take advantage of all the online opportunities. And as far as new friends, yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, it's going to take some parent involvement though. But there are ways for students, and even their classes, and the teacher can help with that as well. I've had 3 students in one of my online classes that through my school that have connected because they were in the online class, and the teacher knew that they were all at home. They are not socializing at all because of different family issues, and they're now friends, and they do tons of Zoom things. So it's communication with the kid and making sure that you are a part of that as the parent, and even the teacher can become involved as well to kind of help those friendships, maybe partner them together, but projects, things like that.
I love that idea. Like, that has not come up at all, where the teacher has the view of the class to be able to say, these kids are working on the same level, and maybe we can get a time where they get together to do a group project or something and start. So for anyone who's listening, if your kid is struggling right now socially, and you really feel like there's something to do and you weren't sure what, I think the teacher is a great place to start. So Lisa, that was a really good one.
Yeah, especially, and the teacher will, a lot of people think that that's not the teacher's place, or maybe asking them to do something extra, but honestly, the teachers, we're worried about their mental health. We're worried. We want them to connect with other people. So if we just had a little, bug in our ear saying, hey, so-and-so is struggling, can they partner with somebody? And maybe they do a group assignment, and once a week they meet for 30 minutes on Zoom. That could build a friendship and connection, and then, kind of go from there.
Great. Number 3, the blurred lines, which are everywhere for us for people working at home, for kids. They're in front of their computer for school, but then they're also doing Zoom for fun, as we just talked about, and then they're gaming. And then, so Is it important to have like school ends, fun starts, fun ends, homework starts? Like, do those distinctions, are they important?
So important. And you're right. I mean, forget all the screen time rules. I mean, we have to throw those out at this point because there's just no way around it. I will say this, and I'm going to use this from experience as well. My oldest is like my, perfect straight A kid. And I had to say, put the phone down while you're doing virtual online learning. Like, you can't be looking at your teacher and have your TV show playing on your phone, or you can't be on break playing your video game. So I really had to say during school time, which I go back to schedules. And when I tell you I make a schedule, I post the schedule. And let me tell you why this is so important. This is what happens in school. This is why they're in this routine at school, because the teacher posts the schedule, they refer to it. So we kind of have to bring that home, because like any human being, that just keeps us, on the daily track of what we're supposed to be doing. So having that school time with rules like no phone, no video games. But then let's say from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. is the after school fun time. That's your time you can use those other devices, and then from 5 to 7 is homework, and then dinner, whatever, and so on. But mapping out the day, because you want them to see as well, especially our teenagers, you will have time for the phone, I promise you. But right now you got to focus on school, because it's when you start to mix, and I've seen kids on Zoom with their phone playing a video game. Like, they're talking with friends on the phone, playing a video game, watching their class. That's too much. There's no way your brain can function like that. So I think setting up those times, and like you said, breaking up the day into school time, activity or free time, and then homework time with those different device, things that are allowed will help. And just that way they know right ahead. And I always tell, especially teenagers, I promise you I'll give you time for your phone. And even, I do have to say this, I want to add too, because I've learned this just from running my own school. This may sound crazy, but when you tell a kid they can't look at their phone from 8 to 2, that's a lot. Even in school, they get to look at their phone. So applying those breaks and saying, hey, you have 5 minutes here, you can grab a snack, check your phone, that's fine. And I think that kind of allows them to be like, okay, I'll be able to get to my phone. I can check to see if someone text messaged me. But just them knowing the times that's coming up will help, just with everyone throughout the day and having that routine.
So, you have a school and you have 4 kids at home. It requires compliance on their part. And we know teenagers aren't always so loving when their parents make suggestions. It's a great suggestion. It's a life skill we want all of our kids to learn. But do we take the phone away? What do we do? How do we enforce it?
That's a family. I think it depends on the kid and what's going on, because some kids you can take the phone away. Some kids take the phone away and they completely shut down. For that kid, I would start with maybe more breaks where they will have time. Like, even at my school, for example, I work with a lot of kids that struggle in school. So we don't work more than 40 minutes without a break. We do 40 minutes quick break, 40 minutes, quick break. And for them, I'm constantly saying, all you got to give me is 40 minutes. And then you get a break. You can go on your phone for 10 minutes. And that is, more acceptable. I guess they take that in more and are more acceptable to it, because it's not, I need you for 4 hours. So maybe starting with something like that, depending on how the kid reacts, of just building in those times. You give me 40 minutes, you get 10-minute break. Or you give me 30 minutes, you get a 5-minute break, something like that throughout the day, so that they're giving little chunks. Because listen, staring at the computer working for a long time is a lot. So if you can shorten that time with breaks in between and allow phone usage, I think that'll make a big difference. And also, depending on, again, your kid, like if kids are into certain things, obviously you don't need to start taking away stuff, but you can kind of leverage things based on, maybe you get more free time, or go to the movies, or have, something extra. But we really have to, I think it's more about communication and trying to find a happy medium, because you don't want to just shut down and be that, nope, not happening, after your phone, don't care, because they're already in a not good state of mind. You don't want to make it, worse. So just trying to have a happy medium.
I love that we're putting out there, be kind to your kid also, because it's so hard for them.
It is. Yeah. And I know it sounds crazy, like we're negotiating about a phone. We are, because guess what? That's their only connection right now. And listen, I get it. I don't like it. I have to go through my kids' phones all the time. It's hard to stay on top of it, but that's their connection. Even video games. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I hated video games in the past years. But you know what? My 2 older ones have their 4 or 5 friends. They play their little basketball video game. They laugh. I mean, for hours I hear them laughing. I can't be mad at that right now. You know, they're enjoying it. They're talking nice. They're, you know, there's no cursing stuff. Like it's just a different world right now. So we just have to be more acceptable. And like you said, just be kind and be, it's all about that communication. Because I think you'll find when your kids are mad or kind of putting a whole, like, don't want to follow the rules, it's for a reason. So if you open up that communication, they can explain, you know, you may be able to work out something that works for both of you.
Academics. So this came up a lot with kids who are just like, they're kind of done and they're not getting to the computer when school starts. They're saying the work is busy work and they're bored, don't want to do their homework. There's this fatigue right now that we're all feeling, not just kids. And yet on the flip side of that, parents are so nervous that their kids are sliding away from the academic, you know, gains they've made, and that what will happen.
Right. And that's a scary part, because we're all worried, right, about how much are they missing from, you know, because we're not able to do everything we can do in school online. It's just impossible. And like you said, just sitting there, it's hard. And I'm going to go back to what I said before, because I know, because I had all 4 of mine home during quarantine. So I was able to play with this through all the different ages. It'll make a big difference with this fatigue if you start building some sort of routine and schedule. I know it may sound like really, but I promise you, it just makes this big difference when you have like a reason to wake up and something to follow for kids. It's a different mind frame, other than just sliding out of bed, sitting on the couch, or sitting in one spot all day long. No one wants to do that. But I think if you really come together and say, you know what, let's work on a schedule so you have breaks and you have time to go on your phone and you can have snack, and then let's set a time where you can have a whole bunch of free time to do whatever you want with whatever device and work on it with your kid, especially middle and high school. Like, this is, for me, that was the best, because that input of, you know what, I really want from 2 to 4, because that's when all my friends go on. Or my oldest clearly said, none of my friends go on until 6. So I changed his, so he did homework first and then he had his free time after. But it just, you know, I go back to just anyone, just having a routine makes all the difference. So I think start with that. And just, again, make sure you're communicating with the teacher as well, to say, listen, I know he's struggling with math or science, whatever, but he's just not getting it. Is there anything we can do? Is there anything I can help him with behind the scenes? Maybe there's an extra credit project. You know, for teachers right now, we're looking for any other way. So if a kid's not getting it the way that we're doing it, maybe through Zoom, there are options. Many teachers say, hey, maybe do a project on it and present it to me, or maybe do a report instead. You know, there are many ways to assess kids. So it's just about reaching out to the teachers. But I promise parents, you'll see a big difference just with that simple schedule and routine, and build it with the kids. That way they have input.
Well, that leads so nicely into my next question, which is, you're a working mom. You've been working at home while your kids are at home.
Mm-hmm.
How are you making that work? That is a burden. I mean, the advice you're giving is about a constant negotiation of everything that your kid is doing, while you're also supposed to be getting your job done.
Right. And so when I talk about, like, you know, building that schedule and stuff, that's a one-time deal. You might adjust it throughout it, but once they have it, and this is why school flows so well with thousands of kids in high schools, because they have schedules and they have routines. They know where to go. They know the rules. For me, you know, for the older ones, really, we worked on that schedule and routine for a few days. They had it down pat, and they knew they had to follow that. And then we also built in a time in the afternoon for questions for me. I have 2 businesses and 4 kids. It is crazy. So for me, I learned I need to build in that time. I can't keep running from my desk to them all throughout the day. So something as simple as giving them a sticky notes or a notepad and saying, any questions you have throughout the day, write them down, write the subject, everything. And then during this time, you know, 1 to 2, I'm available to talk with you. I'll email the teachers. I'll help you communicate whatever you need. That made it so much easier than constantly leaving my desk, because I got no work done when I was trying to help everyone throughout the day. So when they know they have that time, believe it or not, I started to get questions. They were writing them down. They're like, you know, I didn't get science today, or my teacher gave me a 79. I actually got a 92, you know, and I'd have to go in, then I'd email a teacher. And of course the teacher's like, yeah, you know, it was a mistake. No problem. I'll fix it. So I think setting that time and letting them know, like, I have a sign on my door when I'm in meetings. In meeting, they know, like, you cannot come in. And I know we're talking mainly middle and high school, but if you did have any younger students or maybe students that really struggle, it may come to where you have to adjust your schedule a little bit. Like when my third grader was home, I started 1 hour later every day and worked later in the day because his reading and math was in the morning and he couldn't sit and do it. So I just had to adjust. I learned within the first week he needed me. So if it's something like that where they have a certain subject that they need you for, maybe see if you can adjust your day or push your lunch break back or something just for that 1 hour rather than being available all day. We can't do it. We have to set times that we're available.
The other thing about your suggestion about having a time where they can come to you with questions, in my experience, when I delayed, often questions got resolved before they were brought to me. Like if I couldn't get to the phone or whatever the reason was that I couldn't help them resolve it, many of those things, right? Like take care of
100%. Yeah. And that's the beauty, right? And they learn too. Because a lot of times they won't look into it, So I just, literally yesterday, my son was working on math, and this was at night during homework time, but I was taking somebody to a basketball practice or something. And when I came home, he was on speakerphone with a friend and they were talking the problem through together. And I heard him saying, well, do that. And he goes, oh, do this. And by the end, they had done the problem. And at the end, he's like, we got it. And I'm like, see? You can do it. Just, I think they get scared of the work, but like you said, a lot of times it resolves itself.
Okay. So leave us with something hopeful. What are you seeing now that makes you feel hope?
I think that I always remind parents, I promise you these teachers are in it for your kids and that we are making the best of it. I really think, during that quarantine period, it was crazy. This was new to everyone, but now we're pretty much pros. I mean, we are good at this. And so I really think that this is going to be a good year. I think that our kids are going to stay on track. I think that we're going to have the ability to do some awesome things. I mean, I don't know how many parents actually look at these live presentations or teaching, but these teachers are doing awesome things. You can pull in videos, you can do polls, you can have them answer right on the screen. And I really think we're gonna see a new way of learning because to be honest with you, there are a lot of kids that do not do well with this, but there are a lot of kids that do better with this, with anxiety, bullying, whatever that is. So to have another option, I mean, it's opening a whole nother world. So I wouldn't be too worried about the education they're getting or them falling behind because I really think teachers they're going above and beyond. But just making sure that, we stay atop and connected with our kids and just give them grace because this is a hard time for everybody.
Lisa Collum, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day, everybody.